Hello, in this session we will discuss the remaining three postulates of quantum mechanics. We will start with postulate 3. Postulate 3 essentially relates the quantum mechanical observable and classical mechanical observable. Suppose there is a classical mechanical observable and we want to know the corresponding value in quantum mechanics. So that observable must follow the eigenvalue eigenfunction expression. Suppose the quantum mechanics operator is A and it acts on a function phi x, then it generates the eigenvalue small a and the same function, the same eigenfunction phi x. If this condition is satisfied, then we can say that small a is the eigenvalue of the operator A for any particular observable associated with the quantum mechanics. Now it is important to note this postulate is applicable for only single measurement. It does not elaborate anything briefly. It just only says that in quantum mechanics, if we want to know the observable, then you if the eigenvalue eigenfunction equation is satisfied, then the corresponding eigenvalue will be the magnitude of the observable that we want to determine. It is also important to note, for a given operator, here the operator is a capital A, we can have several eigenfunctions, means there can be multiple eigenfunctions possible which satisfies this particular relation. So this is the brief general idea about postulate 3. Then we will go to postulate 4. Postulate 4 essentially elaborates postulate 3 and it says how postulate 3 is more applicable in quantum mechanics. Now suppose there is a wave function psi xt is a state function or wave function that defines a system or any quantum mechanical particle. The value of any observable A is measured with respect to all the possible states. Here in postulate 3 we said that an operator can have many eigenfunctions. Eigenfunctions means the possible states. It can have many possible states. In postulate 4 we say we have to measure the value of the observable for all the possible states. Means if there are n number of eigenfunctions, you monitor the value of the observable for all the n number of eigenfunctions, then take the average. The average value of all these measurements corresponding to the operator A is given as A is equal to psi star operator A psi d tau over psi star psi d tau. Now this expression is not normalized. When this expression is normalized, then we will get the denominator as 1 because the wave function is normalized. Now this A expression, this LHS, is the direct bracket expression for expectation value or average value. Expectation value is same as average value and this expression is known as Dirac's bracket expression. So equation 2 explains what is the average value of all the possible measurements. Means essentially if there are many eigenstates possible or many eigenfunctions possible for a particular quantum mechanical system, we have to measure the corresponding observable for all the possible states. Then you take the average and the average is given according to this equation 2. When the wave function is normalized, then we will get the denominator value as 1. Now we will consider two cases. I said operator can have many eigenfunctions or different eigenstates are possible for a particular operator. Now for a simple case, we will assume that there is only one eigenstate or there is only one eigenvalue. Then the expectation value expression will be only A. This is the expectation value expression. So operator A acts on psi, then it will give eigenvalue A and the same function psi. Now since if the wave function is normalized, this denominator will be 1 and this eigenvalue A will come out of integration because it is a constant. So the terms in the integration will again give 1. So we will get a value that is eigenvalue A. If you do multiple measurements, we'll get the same eigenvalue because there is only one eigenstate. Now the case 2 says, suppose there are multiple eigenstates for a particular system. If there are multiple eigenstates possible, then the total eigenstate or total eigenfunction will be a set of all the possible eigenstates or all the possible eigenfunctions, and that is denoted as psi xt, that is the total wave function or total eigenfunction is equal to sum over of Bn phi n. Phi n is all the possible eigenfunctions of the system and Bn is the expansion coefficient of the wave function to form a complete set. Now here in this case also, suppose you want to determine any observable A and what is the average value, because there are many states possible, so you have to take all the average value of all the states. Now this is the same expression like as per equation 2. Now assuming that psi xt is normalized, then denominator will be 1, so I will be left with only the numerator part. So what will be the numerator part? The direct bracket expression for the observable A is equal to psi star xt operator A psi xt dx. We are considering only one dimensional state and we are considering the time dependent part of the wave function also. Now the wave function is a complete set of various eigenfunctions possible. So the first case I am considering, I have to take the complex conjugate of the wave functions. So and I'll expand my wave function according to this summation. So for psi I can write Bn phi n sum over 1 to any number of states that is possible. Similarly the corresponding complex conjugate will be Bm phi m star starting from 1 to infinite number of states. This is simple rearrangement. If I do the rearrangement, the summation part will be coming out, and in the integration part I'll only have the wave functions or eigenfunctions. Now what is the solution of this expression? There are many terms. There is m term and n terms are there. Now it is important to note eigenfunctions in quantum mechanical operator are orthogonal in nature. Means two different eigenfunctions are orthogonal means this integration term will be 0. So all the cross terms when m is not equal to n, again I am repeating, all the cross terms for which m is not equal to n, this integration will be 0. This integration will be 1 when m is equal to n, that is the normalization condition. So only one operation or one condition will be surviving, and that condition is when m is equal to n. All other cross terms will be vanishing. So this complex looking expression becomes simplified and the only one term will be surviving. That term is m is equal to n. So we'll understand why there are many states possible, what is the physical significance of it. So we'll understand that suppose there are 4 eigenstates possible for a particular system, then the eigenvalue associated or expectation value associated will be given as I have to expand in terms of the expansion coefficient. So the expansion coefficient for the first state is b1 square, b2 square, b3 square and b4 square, and a1, a2, a3 and a4 are the eigenvalues associated with 4 eigenfunctions. So the total expectation value is equal to b1 square a1, b2 square a2, b3 square a3, b4 square a4. Again a1, a2, small a1, a2, a3, a4 are eigenvalues associated with particular eigenstate. Then b1 square are the expansion coefficients. So again we have to normalize this. To normalize this I can say b1 square, b2 square, b3 square and b4 square is equal to 1. So there are few important points to note. The expectation value is simply not an average, rather it is a weighted average because we are taking squares. So it is actually a weighted average of all the possible states. Okay, the second point of importance is the weighting factor Bn square is directly related to the contribution of nth eigenfunction. Suppose my b1 square is much more, b1 square, b2 square, b3 square and b4 square is equal to 1. Suppose my b1 square is 0.90 and all the other 3 terms is 0.1. That means the first eigenstate or first eigenfunction contributes to a greater extent towards the average value or expectation value of the corresponding observable. Now we'll understand this with a more general example. That we'll consider hydrogen atom confined in a box. We'll take various hydrogen atoms, number of hydrogen atoms, and confined in a box we'll do number of measurements. And suppose we are more interested to measure the energy of the system. Again I am repeating the situation. The situation is hydrogen atom is there in a box and we want to measure the energy of the hydrogen atom, and we will do a number of measurements. So the hydrogen atom, there is only one electron, but electron can be present in all the orbitals, that is 1s orbital, 2s orbital, 2px orbital, 3s orbital. So all the orbitals are possible, means electron can be in any orbital. So there are many eigenstates are there. These are all eigenstates or eigenfunctions associated with different orbitals. So the total eigenstate will be sum of all the eigenstates. Again, Bn is the expansion coefficient, phi n is the corresponding wave function of the orbital. What are the orbitals here? 1s, 2s, 2px, 3s. So if I do that, my total eigenstate will be B1 psi 1s, B2 psi 2s, B3 psi 2px, B4 psi 3s. Suppose there are further higher order orbitals are there, I can add up terms here. But for now I am considering only 4 states. So there are 4 eigenstates possible for the hydrogen atom problem. Now I want to measure the energy of the system. Now electron can be in any of the orbital. So if electron is in 1s orbital, I will get energy corresponding to 1s orbital. If it is in 3s orbital, I will get energy with respect to 3s orbital. So if I do a number of measurements, I will get different energy values in each measurement. Then I have to take the average value. Then only I can say that the expectation or average value of hydrogen atom is so and so. So if I do number of measurements, I will get different energy values. So I am not sure which energy value I am getting. In one instance I may get energy value associated with 1s orbital, whether in the second instance I will get energy value associated with 2px orbital. So when I am not sure regarding the outcome of the measurement, such type of measurement is called probabilistic outcome. And in quantum mechanics we usually get probabilistic outcome. To be very sure about the outcome, or to understand a system in a much better way, we have to do the experiment or the measurements number of times possible. So then only we can say anything concretely say anything about the system, because all the 4 states are possible. So energy can be associated with any of the state. So such a measurement is called probabilistic outcome, and this is generally the case in quantum mechanics. Now suppose we want to understand this situation in a more physical way. Suppose I am throwing a die of a 6-faced die, and suppose 1 to 6, the faces are starting from 1 to 6, and I am throwing my die for only one time, and I am asking what is the probability that I will get a 6. Then nobody can say what is the probability of getting a 6. But if I throw the die many times, if I throw the die number of times, and I want to calculate how many times I'll get 6, then if I do a number of throwings, then I can say that the probability that I'll get a 6 facing top will be 1/6 times. So this is the case when I do a number of measurements. Similar is the case with quantum mechanics. When there are many states or many eigenstates are possible, then we cannot confirmly say which eigenvalue we are getting. We have to do number of measurements, then only we can say that which eigenstate is dominating from the expansion coefficient values. Now what is deterministic outcome? In the similar example of hydrogen atom, the total eigenstate is given as sum of all the 4 possible eigenstates. Now in this condition, suppose I do fast measurement, and from fast measurement I know that my B2 is 0, B3 is 0 and B4 is 0, and only B1 is non-zero. Then if I do energy measurement, then I will get energy corresponding to only 1s orbital. And such an outcome is called deterministic outcome. In deterministic outcome, the probability that all other the probability of existence of all other eigenstates are 0. And what does that 0 mean? That means that this expansion coefficients are 0. If only one coefficient is there, then I will get energy value associated with only 1s orbital. So under such a condition, if I do number of measurements, I'll get energy value associated with only 1s orbital, because other orbitals are non-existent. Such a kind of measurement is called deterministic outcome, and it is the case of classical mechanical measurements. Then few other important points with respect to postulate 3 and postulate 4. Postulate 3 only says we will get an eigenvalue associated with any eigenfunction if it follow the eigenvalue eigenfunction equation. It does not say anything in detail. The postulate 3 only says about eigenvalue of a single measurement, but postulate 4 is much more clear. It says in a single measurement you cannot get the eigenvalues. To know the eigenvalues or average value or the expectation value precisely, you have to do a number of measurements. So what is the postulate, how postulate 4 is different compared to postulate 3? The first instance is there is no way of knowing the outcome of an individual measurement. Okay, the outcome of an individual measurement is maybe misleading. It can be from different eigenstates. To know the particular eigenstate, we have to do a number of measurement. The outcome from all the possible states of a system is not same. This is in sharp contrast with predictability concept of classical mechanics. And the third point on which the postulate 4 is different than postulate 3 is, if the experiment is repeated many times on all possible state of the system, the average value of an observable can be predicted with high accuracy. To know the average value of any observable, we have to increase the number of measurements in quantum mechanics. When the number of measurement in quantum mechanics increases, then only we will get the more close value or more precise value of an observable. From a single measurement, we cannot precisely say what is the value of an observable for a quantum mechanical system. Now postulate 5. Postulate 5 says in the state of a system can be precisely explained with using time dependent Schrodinger equation. Now what is time dependent Schrodinger equation? S psi is equal to IH cross d psi over dt. For one dimensional system I can write IH bar d over dt psi t is equal to, what is my Hamiltonian for one dimensional case? For one dimensional case, Hamiltonian is the energy operator, and total energy operator is sum of kinetic energy operator plus potential energy operator. What is kinetic energy operator? H bar over 2m dou square by dou x square. This is for one dimensional system. For three dimensional system, I have to include all the three Cartesian coordinate axes, and in that case my kinetic energy operator becomes h bar square over 2m del square operator. Del square means dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square plus dou square by dou z square. Therefore Hamiltonian governs the time evolution or time development of any quantum mechanical system. Now there is a general question. Till now we have considered the wave function which depends upon both position and time. Suppose what happens if the operator is not a function of time? If the operator is not a function of time, then we have to use a function, eigenfunction, which is also independent of time. We can use such an eigenfunction which is independent of time. In such a case, I can take only psi x, the small psi, which is function of only position, because our operator is not a function of time. So why to choose a function which is which depends upon both position and time? We can simplify the problem by taking a function which is only dependent upon position and not dependent upon time. So if we know the position, how the operator behaves with respect to position, we can always know the total means the time dependent part of the function also. If we multiply the position dependent part with e to the power minus iet over h cross, we'll get the total wave function which depends upon both position and time. We need to multiply only e to the power minus iet over h cross, but this condition is only applicable for standing waves, means waves that are restricted. If it is a superposition of many waves, then this condition is not applicable. Again I am saying this condition is only applicable to standing wave situation. So with this I will stop here. Thank you.